Welcome to the Sports Desk live on Facebook. Streamed live on Facebook. I'm your host, Ed Nunez, along with producer Aldi Iwani. Our special guest today is Las Lunas and Valencia Athletic Director Wilson Holland. Hey, Coach, thanks so much for joining us. Great to have you.
Hey, good morning to everybody. I want to thank you guys for allowing me to be part of your show. Very humbling, but truly excited to speak with you guys this morning.
Well, Wilson, not only are you an athletic director out there at Las Lunas and Valencia, also former high school official, now D1 college basketball official. We want to ask you about that. And I was just talking to you before we got on, and I learned quite a lot from you. There's mentors that we had, even when you were at the Santa Fe Basketball Association. You joined them for a while. And when I look back and think about Les Williams and Paul Lawson and Mike Kleppel and some people that you learned from, and we'll talk about officiating because, again, I said this last week to Dana Pappas, people think they know, they don't know unless you go out there and put the stripes on, right? It's
Absolutely.
One thing from row 6. It's another thing to have to make a block charge with a room full, a house full of 3,000, right? And one of the things you always said to me, watch the district rivals, even when they're shaking hands. I still remember you said this to me a couple years ago. It's at Valencia. And you said, make sure in a district rivalry, because even when they shake hands and go in line, man, you never know. Game manage the game. And we'll get to that in a second. But Wilson, right now, we're right in the middle of the global pandemic, and you're the athletic director at Las Lunas in Valencia, and you do a heck of a job, man. You do a great job. But I liken it to Lenny Roybal when he was the AD at Santa Fe and Espanola. And I used to think, man, how does Coach Roybal do that? Because back in the day, those were some rivals, man. They were, right? Santa Fe and Espanola at that time when Coach Roybal was there, they had a good rivalry going, as does Las Lunas and Valencia. They have a good rivalry going. Valencia, still somewhat of a new school. Talk about that, the challenges of being the athletic director at both schools. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, there are some challenges there. My job is to make sure that things are equitable. There's some equality there. We're doing things the same when it comes to our handbook, when it comes to policies, procedures, and bylaws per the NMAA. We just want to make sure everybody's on the same side, everybody's on the same page, and everybody's receiving the same message.
Push back a little bit, I'm sure, because it always happens. No matter how fair you are to Valencia, to both schools, it's down, right? Now, and people are going to say, well, and you didn't go to school. You're a former Alamogordo star in football and basketball, New Mexico Highlands star, New Mexico Highlands Hall of Famer. So you go down the line, but someone says, they see you, Coach Holland, this isn't fair to this school or that school, but it's just down the line. That's a challenge.
Definitely challenging. And again, you definitely have to be a good listener, and you have to understand why they are asking that question or why they are making that statement. And again, listen, get as much information as you can from that individual, and then you can compose your response, and hopefully you can resolve any concerns that they may have. So I think that's important, to be a great listener when someone may have an issue or concern, and you do your best to resolve it and move forward.
And I'll tell you what, as an official, you have to listen a lot. That's part of the job of being an official, is listening. So that, goes into what you do as your former Rio Rancho head football coach. All these things in your life have led you to where you are now. No question about it. And you've had to listen to a lot of people throughout your life. You're not done yet. You're still going at it strong. Now, what I wanted to ask you, Coach, is that there's signs that maybe we're going to return, to high school sports. They said the NMAA had said February 22nd. They targeted that date as maybe a return to practice. Now, the Las Lunas board voted 4-1 to stay in hybrid. Now, the question, there's going to be a special meeting there February 16th to talk about that. And I told you I was going to ask you about that. And right now, they're hoping that the NMAA or the Department of Health eases that hybrid restriction. They're hoping that, sports can go off with that. And I just wanted your quick comment on that, because you don't know what's going to happen at that board meeting any more than anybody else does.
Yeah, first of all, just to clarify that the requirements, i.e. criteria set for sports to resume has nothing to do with the New Mexico Activities Association. Those requirements come from the PED, the having to be in the hybrid in order for a school to participate in sports. So the NMAA gets their direction from the PED. So again, I don't want anyone out there blaming the NMAA that they created this rule, which they did not. Again, they're following direction from the governor's office and the PD. Here in Los Lunas, we did have a board meeting, and our superintendent and our school board, those people are the decision makers, and what they do is they collect data, and they're going to make the best decision possible to make sure that all students and staff are safe. And our school board, our community, our superintendent, and my immediate supervisor, our deputy superintendent, Mr. Brian Baca, we've been working collaboratively to ensure that all protocols and all safety measures can be met before we proceed with any type of hybrid schedule and a possible return to play. So we just want to make sure that a decision is based off the current New Mexico Department of Health and CDC data and guidelines. We want to ensure that the safety of our teachers and staff and students are first.
Absolutely. And I think I just talked to CBLA Athletic Director Ray Rodriguez before we got on, and he's at the same level, right? Everybody's kind of waiting to see what's going to happen. And I don't know. And I think the other thing is this. Now, there are a lot of people saying that I've been reading and hearing. Now, everyone's got a different opinion. But, teachers, the CDC said it's safe to go back. But I don't think the CDC said we can guarantee safety 100%. I don't think that is the guarantee. And that's what you're coming from. You want everyone to be safe in a safe model if they're going to return. And again, there's so many things about this virus that are unknown. And we do want kids in school. I think that's the most important thing. But you're saying make sure we got to be as safe as we can.
Yeah, we're going to continue to do everything we need to mitigate the spread, as this state has been doing since last March. Now we're our student athletes have been in quarantine and lockdown, or whatever you want to call it, since last March of 2020. So those kids are excited and itching. They want to get out and maybe get a season going and get started. And it's I would say the majority of our students would like to come back to schools. We can eliminate the athletic portion of it. Kids just want to go back to school. And for them, it's more of that social and emotional well-being that we need to take a look at and see if we can safely implement a hybrid schedule or a protocol and some guidelines to get them back into school safely so they can be beside their peers and have some fun and with social distancing, obviously, but have someone to talk to and see every day and get back to some sort of normalcy in this unprecedented time.
Coach, I had Jeremy Maupin on about 2 months ago, and you've got some great coaches at Valencia. You've got some great coaches in Los Lunas, no question about it. And Coach Maupin said that the same thing, there's a return to normalcy. When you see the kids in person and it's hard over Zoom, kind of if you see them in the hall by their body language, you can catch it right away. Hey, what's wrong, right? And a word from a Coach Holland or Coach Maupin or Mrs. Jones in history or the band teacher, that makes so much difference in a kid's life that may not have that. So I think that's the other thing to think. And I wanted to ask you this, and I can only imagine the answer because it's been pretty standard about everybody I've asked as far as the online learning. Kids, some have struggled with it, and it's hard, like you said, not in person. I got some of my best learning at Highland when I saw my teachers, some dang good ones too back in the day at Highland, some good ones. Talk a little bit about the struggles of online learning at both Valencia and Los Lunas.
As an educator, you go from in-person learning to remote learning. There's definitely going to be some challenges. And when I say challenges for students and also challenges from teachers and staff. So it's a change. It's a different platform in which we have to use in order to provide education to our students and our students trying to receive the education or the teaching and the learning portion. So, I have an 8th grader at home, and it's been challenging, and it's important that we stay on top of that. And I've spoke to my head coaches, our coaching staff, and we always talk about there are things that athletics has taught us, and one of them is to overcome adversity. Well, we're in an adverse situation right now. So hopefully if you've done everything you needed to do and you taught your student athletes well, hopefully they can overcome this adverse situation, i.e. remote learning. Again, there's going to be some struggles, And our job is to make sure that we keep our students engaged, we maintain communication and contact with them, and as educators, let them know you care and that this will not go on forever. And there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And, we're going to get back in that building again safely, effectively, and efficiently. And again, return to some sort of normalcy within our school district and the state of New Mexico and the country.
Yeah, I'll tell you something, Coach. I think those are great words, and hearing it from someone like you, again, you're such a well-respected man. You really are. In the way you bring your, I don't remember officiating some games with you, and I still remember one time when you said, "Hey Ed, if I give the coach a T, I may not want you to go talk to that coach." I still remember that. That was the pregame little conference that we had, because normally you wanted to have one official be the good guy, bad guy, right? And I still remember you saying that. And it made me think, like, okay, mostly everybody wants the good guy, bad guy. And you're like, I may not want you to go talk to the coach. So I think that the messages you bring across all the years of experience you had, and they definitely, again, it gives the kids some sort of hope. You mentioned a ray of hope, right? With vaccines, we're seeing some light at the end of the tunnel and it's so important, socialization. There's some kids that are introverted and don't like big crowds and big schools. That's true, right? I was the social guy at Highland, man. Hi to everybody down the hall. A lot of friends from all walks of life. And so I think that's the important part. And that's what Coach Malcolm said to me. It's important that I'm with my guys, that I know what they're doing. But not only that, the history teacher, the band teacher, the DECA teacher, not just athletics. You mentioned that. It's not just athletics. We're talking about athletics because I've got you on as a guest, but we know the importance of everything else that you just mentioned. And like you mentioned, hopefully around the corner, we're knocking on wood, that there's some better times ahead for New Mexico and for the country.
Oh, absolutely. As a race, as a people, as a country, I believe that we are truly resilient, hardworking, dedicated people, that we want to make sure that our students and our staff and everyone has an opportunity to be successful. And we want to be able to put our students and our staff in a situation where they can be successful. So, it's been challenging and it's been frustrating, but again, you always have to have hope and believe that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and we're going to get there. And we've been saying it all year. We want our kids to have an opportunity to play, and the NMAA and the ADs Association, we've been working extremely hard to make sure that this senior class, has an opportunity to get back on the field or the court and get after it a little bit.
Let's see what happens, Coach. When we come back, we're going to take a break. We're going to talk about one of our favorite subjects, officiating. We're going to talk about basketball officiating when we come back after these messages on the Sports Desk.
I'll just get a little closer.
Oh, instead it's a gorgeous pass.
Here's what he'll
just shoot it.
He's going to go all the way.
He's gonna fire at the buzzer and he hits.
Great pass, Hadbury, and thank you very much. Heavyweight tie in the district. Inside, fly, Eagles.
Chavez uses some athleticism. And then Morris down low, able to finish. You called it, Steve, in 10 seconds. And look at this, stripped, stolen Watson. Christian Lucero beats the buzzer. Here's Ian Chavez, the sharpshooter. Got it.
Couldn't have said that any better. He answered the question. He
On
got
a
another
steal
one.
at the buzzer. Back to back for Chavez.
To the paint. Medina from the volleyball lines. Medina wants another one from deep. Oh, he wants 10. Give him 10.
Watson. He's going to finish. One-handed slam. Vista, but just all the different scenarios we could see potentially play out ahead of the state tournament.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network. Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Is this my car?
State Farm knows that for every one of those moments,
This is ridiculous!
there's one of these.
Is this my car? What? This is ridiculous.
This can't be happening!
This can't be happening.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Shut up.
Shut up!
That's why State Farm is there, with car insurance for when things go wrong, but also here with car loans to help life go right. State Farm.
Talk to State Farm agent Marty Size or Michelle Rudolph in Albuquerque today.
Welcome back to the Sports Desk, streamed live on Facebook. I'm your host, Ed Nunez, along with producer Aldi Niwani. Our special guest today is Valencia and Las Lunas athletic director Wilson Holland. And Coach, before we broke, we were, you and I were talking during the break, and I want to mention this: New Mexico Highlands football team that you played on in 1989 is quite a squad, man. And Brian Ainsworth, the quarterback, the former volleyball coach at Cleveland; Ronell Brown, the former Albuquerque High Star, 1984 Football Player of the Year here in Albuquerque. Anthony Edwards played 10 years in the NFL. And New Mexico Highlands, they used to split big Ronell Brown out as a wide receiver. Yeah, and you guys just really tore the gridiron up, scoring a lot of points. You had 23, where you set the Highlands record for 23 catches in a game. And I even asked you, I said, you did that with Anthony Edwards out there. Let's talk a little bit about that team, that New Mexico Highlands football team that you played on.
Well, I'll clarify this. In 1989, Anthony was already in the NFL. That was my senior year.
Okay.
And a kid from El Paso, Texas, named Gabby Lujan was the quarterback. And so again, Anthony he left in 88. We had a great year in 88, and he went on to play for the Philadelphia Eagles. But, it was just a great experience to have an opportunity to play college football coming from the small town of Alamogordo, New Mexico. And, we got after it, worked hard, and had fun. And I remember Coach Shanka telling us when I first got to New Mexico Highlands about, he goes, I know you guys have dreams of playing at the University of Texas or Alabama or Florida, but just be thankful on Saturday that you're playing. And as for me, I never really thought that. All I knew is that growing up, my parents couldn't afford for me to go to college. And athletics created an avenue for me to receive or have an opportunity to receive a college education. And that's what I was most thankful for, was the opportunity to go to college and obtain a degree.
Now, you made the most of it. And I'll tell you what, I told you Ronell Brown's a very good friend of mine, and he would tell me a lot about that team. And Ronell, big Ronell, people forget how good Ronell Brown was. And Ronell, size, speed, strength, heck of a basketball player too, and mean. I'll tell you what, that guy had the attitude to go with it. We had to calm him down a couple of times, and I worked with him at the city, but that guy definitely was one heck of an athlete. Coach, we want to switch focuses to basketball officiating, something you and I still have a passion about it, even though my knees won't let me do that anymore. I did it for 22 years. You've been a college official for 14, and before that, a high school official with the Albuquerque Association and then the Santa Fe Association. So you've done it for a long time. And how many conferences are you officiating in right now, Coach?
We're in what's called the West Coast Basketball Consortium. So it's everything on the West Coast, from the Pac-12, the Mountain West, the WAC, the Big Sky, and the West Coast, and the Big West.
Now, Coach, talk about this a lot, because a lot of guys had dreams. I did too, to get to that level that you're at now. Now, you went to a lot of camps. You went to a whole bunch of camps. You got looks, and you know what? You're a heck of an official. You keep yourself in prime condition. And one of the things I want to ask, and we'll get some other questions here in a minute. With the pandemic, you're not being able to go to camps, because camps are huge. I remember the late Kip Luna was would always harp on that. Go to a camp, get better, improve. This summer, since you couldn't do that, what did you do instead to work on your game? Because you're always working on your game.
Well, fortunately for us, we have a lot of video now, and we can retrieve a lot of our games, and we have clips of games, and they're always sending us clips of games, or other officials are sending you plays that they want you to look at and observe and comment on. So you things you can control. You can control your rule book knowledge, your mechanics book knowledge, the case book. Those are things you can control when you can't go to camp. Also, your health and wellness, getting in shape, you can control that. And you have the ability to look at the video and watch some video and see what you did right, what you did wrong, and when you missed the play, why'd you miss it, and how you can get better the next time. So those are some things we did during the pandemic, since obviously in-person type learning was canceled.
And you're always looking to improve. Now, talk a little bit about that, because I remember Les Williams, the great official, would say this when he officiated Mountain West women's ball, that at halftime, and a lot of people that don't know just think we get together, roll the ball out. We don't have pregame conferences, go over things. We do extensively, right? But in the conferences that you're in, and Les was in, he'd say that at halftime they'd go in there, an evaluator would say, hey, Les, at 10:51 of the first half, you had a charge. What happened? So talk a little bit about the evaluations and feedback you get in your conferences.
Well, there's some conferences that I work in that we get game graded, and they hire game graders to watch your games. And you have to realize now that in this day and age, there's a camera everywhere. So you can't hide. There's cameras on top of the backboard. We have a pregame conference with the table, and we talk about instant replay. We ask them how many cameras you have. Some will say 5, some will say 7. Again, you want to be really good and do your best and get to a spot to where you can see and adjudicate a play. And again, positioning is a big part of that.
You know what, the people, and again, back in the day, Coach, was a lot of 2-man. Now it's 3-man. I remember going from 2-man to 3-man and thinking I don't want to ever do 2-man again. 3-man is so much easier, so much more to cover with 3 than you can with 2. 2 is a dinosaur that needed to be retired, and in most cases it has been, as far as 2-man crews. Talk a little bit about, Coach, again, a lot of people just don't know points of emphasis this year. Just give us a couple points of emphasis that are new to college basketball this year that you and your crew have to concentrate on, that you're being graded on.
I think the main, we call them major officiating concerns now, but they were the old POEs, points of emphasis. We want to reduce physicality to create freedom of movement, in a nutshell. So any rule that we may have, our job, our charge is to reduce physicality so we can create freedom of movement. And that's what the game has come to. We want players to be able to move freely throughout the court and make plays. We want scoring up and things like that. So every week we watch a video that comes down from Mr. J.D. Collins, the national coordinator, and that's the number one thing: reduce physicality to create freedom of movement. And that's trickling on down into the high school associations, and they're understanding that. And hats off to the ABOA. There's some really, really good officials, and hats off to Dana Pappas and Nate Acosta and all the group leaders in the state of New Mexico who are training and creating great basketball officials. It's exciting to watch the new men and women come up and get better at their craft.
Now, you've had a chance to go out there and be a moderator in some training. I saw your picture online you've done that. You've given back, and that's important too. Guys like yourself, and I remember calling a game with Mike Kleppel when I first started coming up, and Mike gave me a couple of tips that I never forgot. Little ones, and I was like, I put that away in my notebook, and it really helped. And I think those are the things that people forget about. I want to ask you, Coach, the challenges of officiating during a pandemic. Some officials wear masks, some don't. Talk about that, because this is totally uncharted water as far as your whistles, or you guys having a bag to catch the spittle, things like that, because I saw that done in the NBA last year.
So it depends on the health order of that state or that county. We do have some guidelines and protocols that are sent to us. So there's some places where, you go in and we have a whistle cover that just goes over your whistle. And you can wear a mask. I wore a mask the first 5 or 6 games. Now I just wear a whistle cover. And then we early on, we had to get tested 3 times a week before our event, and you get tested on site. So the conferences, the NCAA, they put in some protocols to make sure that everyone's safe and can have a successful and productive game without having to worry too much about contracting the COVID-19. So it's been a challenge, and it's different. And, there's just some things you have to overcome, and you have to adapt, and got to be flexible. So it's been a challenging year, but anytime you get to get on the floor and you can see that the players on the floor having the opportunity to participate, it's exciting. So challenging, but exciting.
You do a great job, and you're not at that level. Again, it's not an easy level to get at where you're at. Everybody wants to get there, but it takes a lot of work, and to stay there. It's not as if you just got it made. You still have to keep working on your game, and that you're somebody that keeps wanting to improve next level. So I know you're working real hard on that. Got about a minute left, and I want to ask you about this. You had some fantastic Jordan and Jacob. They're great athletes at Las Lunas. You got one more. Got an 8th grader coming up, and I want you to talk about him a little bit. He's an 8th grader, and you got to be excited about his athletic potential, because the Hollands have quite a name there in Las Lunas.
Well, we've been fortunate. My wife and I, with 4 kids, Jacob, Jordan, and Jairus is an engineering student now, his first year at New Mexico State, and just a very bright and intelligent kid. And my 8th grader, Jalen, obviously when you have older siblings, you either get on, get off, or get run over. And so he's learned a lot. He has the potential to be pretty good. We're just hoping that, he continues to improve and humbles himself and work hard. I tell him every day, you either get better or worse, but you don't stay the same. You never know who's behind you, so you got to work extremely hard if you want to be your best at something. And you're always competing against yourself to improve daily. And never compared him to any of the other kids because our kids are all different personalities, different mindset. But again, like you said, they're all Hollands, and we love them to death.
Yeah, it's funny though. Yeah, he may not compare, but it's a comparison that's ultimate. It's a comparison anyway, right? They're gonna say, well, someone's gonna say it. Jacob was this, Jordan was that, right? It comes up. Someone's good because they remember. Your daughter and son were both good, very good athletes, and a lot of people remember how good you were. So it's kind of tough sometimes, but that helps though to have that name, and if the competitor inside you wants that, you're right. You don't stay the same. You get better or worse. You don't. Yeah, you're right. You don't stay the same. And judging by your family's work ethic, I think he's got a high ceiling for sure. Wilson Holland, athletic director of Valencia and Las Lunas. Gosh, we sure appreciate it. What an honor it was to have you. We'll definitely get you back on.
I appreciate it. Thank you, and we appreciate all you do for sports.
You bet. For producer Alden Iwani, I'm Ed Nunez. We'll see you next Tuesday on the Sports Desk.